Hey, good evening. Donna Nelson here. Welcome to episode 49 of Rooted in Wisdom, a daily dose of Donna. Today I'm talking about a very important topic that comes up a lot in my work. I work with a lot of people who are very caring, who are helpers and work in the helping business or work in medicine, or they're caregivers like moms. And I hear this idea about self sacrifice all the time. And while often it's not a word that's used, self sacrifice, but the way they're describing the problem or what's going on in their life, it's self sacrifice. So, what I want you to know is that self sacrifice is not a virtue and that it is absolutely a barrier to having success and happiness and fulfillment within really across all areas of your life. So whether it's work relationships, home relationships, whatever those things are, as well as across all other areas of your life. Um, if you are a self sacrificer, they are all being impacted as well as how you feel about yourself. And so that's what I want to share with you. So why does this happen? What is really self-sacrifice? So I'm not talking about the kind of self-sacrifice like someone going off and representing their country and as a soldier or a parent with their child. I definitely the difference in what I'm talking about in those things is those are coming from those are coming from a place of love and compassion versus coming from this place of having a need that needs to be met. And so, therefore, I'm going to sacrifice myself. And so, this idea of self sacrifice that I'm talking about is coming from a place of self denial, a lack of self respect. And we get into this trap of self sacrifice because of core beliefs that have been instilled in us from early in our childhood about who we are, like our lack of worthiness, or a lack of well, I guess that would be the same thing. It comes from the same place, right? Of not being loved or cared for. And so there's this a gap that is missing, and there's needs that are not being met, or there's a values conflict. So um so self-sacrifice is a lack of self-respect, and the challenge that I see that comes from doing having this behavior, creating this pattern, is that resentment follows it. And and in that resentment, of course, resentment is a form of anger, and it can be subtle. And so sometimes it's one of two things that happen, and maybe there's more, but these are things that I see often. You either become the martyr, like, the victim, like, oh, poor, pitiful me, like, oh, poor me, I'm always the one, I have to do it, it's not going to be good enough, or, I have to, be the one to stand up or reach out or make it all happen, or be the one to take care of it, whatever that those words are that come out as a result of that. Or you could become passive aggressive manipulator, and that's fun. But either one are not good or healthy for you. And if you're and the other challenge with this too is that, as a self-sacrificer, especially when it's coming from this place of much early in our life, and we have these core beliefs about who we are and what our lack of worthiness and those kinds of things, we end up attracting people who are very unhealthy for us. Well, so we can just perpetuate this self sacrifice, right? So maybe attracting someone who's really needy and demanding, um, attracting a narcissist, right? And so the damage just continues because you're constantly grasping at having this unmet need achieved by overgiving and constantly trying to please or achieve something, right? And so in business, as a self sacrificer, you're going to be the one that's like, all right, I'll stay late. I'll be the one that'll do it. I'll take the extra task, whatever. And then you become having no boundaries or unhealthy boundaries, right? And then people can just walk all over you, and then you turn into, this passive aggressive, or you turn into the martyr, and then build all of this resentment, and then you can't imagine why you're not being elevated in your career. You're not being considered for the promotions. Well, it's because people don't respect the self sacrificer. So while they may appreciate having someone wait on them or have someone respond as soon as they snap their fingers, or always being there to take the phone call, or, always being the one to give the gift, right? Whatever those things are, how we get to show up to be the self sacrificer, and they can look like really nice things, but it's self sacrificing nature. So, as we're doing that, right, people can see it, it presents as weakness and lack of self-respect. And so you're going to not get deals. You're going to not get that healthy relationship at work or at home, or intimately, or whatever, because it's not healthy. And so if you're not healthy, how could you attract anything that is healthy? You won't. You're going to, likes attract likes. You're unhealthy, you're going to attract unhealthy, and then it's just going to feed on each other. And so, um, so with that, making sure I have all my notes right. So, so talking about it being an unmet need, right? So self-sacrifice is motivated usually by an unmet need based on a values conflict, or these stories, core beliefs that we have from ideas that we've created in our mind about ourselves from whenever. So that self-sacrifice, what is the unmet need? So the unmet need might be, I need more appreciation and validation. So I will sacrifice myself. I will work 80 hours or 100 hours. I'll make sure I have my phone accessible all the time. So if someone needs me, I'm going to be there because I need to feel validated for my worthiness, or I need to hear the appreciation, the accolades about what a great job I do, because I'm always sacrificing myself for the greater good of the organization, going above and beyond. But it's going to fall short. That's all they're going to do is say that. It's not going to elevate you. And or always being the sacrificer of, always giving and being philanthropic in the community. I'll be the one to always, when someone calls me, I'll always be the one to say yes and give that money. Why are you doing that? What is the need? That is it coming from the heart because I care and it's compassion and I want to be a contributor because that feels like love to me? Or is it because I want someone to remember who I am and say thank you and send me the letter of recognition that I can put on my, bulletin board so everybody walks by and can see how fucking great I am because I gave some money, or I donated something, or I showed up and did whatever. That is a form of self-sacrifice. So then so what are the other needs, right? So it may be intimacy or connection, right? So in a relationship, hopefully not at work, in an intimate relationship, right? It could be with your spouse or significant other or just a dating relationship. If you're going to be constantly I'm the doer, I'm the giver, and you're never receiving. You're always trying to overextend yourself. And, you're the one that's going to jump and you're going to be the people pleaser because the last thing you want is conflict. Because conflict says, oh crap, I'm not being loved. What's going on here? So I'm just going to be the pleaser so that I hopefully get some intimacy, some connection, some appreciation here, some validation that I exist for some good meaning. And it can become a really bad vicious cycle because, again, going back to if you're the lifelong self-sacrificer, I'm just going to be the pleaser and the giver so everybody's happy except me. Um, Alistair, calling out names. Um, so if that is what you're doing, then you're going to keep attracting the wrong partners. And you're going to be working in a place that perpetuates that because you keep trying to find somebody to fill that need. So, and maybe it's, I don't know if I said this or not, but respect, right? So I'll be the giver, I'll be the doer, because then people will respect me, right? I'll be the overachiever. I'll be always available, whatever those things are, so that people can see my worthiness. And sometimes we just might be motivated by those things because we're lonely, right? Like I have these unmet needs. And listen, the amazing thing about unmet needs is that we are gonna find a way to have them met, even if it is unhealthy and self-sacrificing. So we'll find it somewhere. It just is innate within us. So so how do we all right, well that's all the bad news. So what's the good news? So how do we get out of this trap? Well, I'm not going to say that it's easy if you've been doing this like for freaking decades, right? However, there are a few simple things that you can start doing to start respecting yourself and moving into that happiness quotient a little bit easy. So the first thing is that assessing what is first recognizing, right? That here we are. So this self-awareness, yes, that's me. Raise my hand. I'm the self-sacrificer. I'm the martyr, or, yes, I'm the one that's passive aggressive, and I'll always share those snide comments to just remind you. Or, do something to like manipulate a behavior so that, again, manipulate the behavior so I get my need met. Ugh. Anyway, so people don't even realize they're doing this. So now I'm telling you. All right. So first one is, yes, now you recognize that's you, or you live with one. Um, so identifying what is the need, why do I fucking do this, right? What is the need when this happens? What is the story that's coming up in my head? What is the need that I'm like craving to have met? So that would be one step, right? Like that's the first healthy step. The next one, and these are in no real order necessarily, but would be to set boundaries. Like just practice pausing, right? So you don't even have to say no necessarily, but you could just say, yeah, let me think about that. So let's just say it's a work project, or someone is like always like you're their go-to, like, can you help with this? Can you come do that? Can you do this for me? And so you pausing and saying, let me get back to you, or let me think about it, or let me take a look at my schedule. And when you allow yourself to do that pause, or ask for more details, right? Instead of just being like the yes, I'll do it, right? Ask for more details. And that is a pause in itself and allows you to assess a situation, but doing I'll say a kind of like this, a longer pause, like a permanent pause, right? Like a get back to you in 5 minutes or in 5 days, um, will start building some safer boundaries, some healthier boundaries for you and in that relationship. Because you'll be building more respect between you and that person as well. And they'll start getting the clue like, wow, someone's growing. Someone is setting boundaries. Wow, what's going on? And that's a good thing because it's going to be more fulfilling for you. And then so doing that pause so that you can then take a breath to be able to say, decide instead of reacting if you want to do that or not, or if you want to have conditions on it. Hey, Eileen, so good to see you. All right, and then the other one is always looking at your values, right? So I said it's either core beliefs or it's a values conflict. So when we're looking at what's most important, right? So there's things we value, right? Like good food and red wine. And then there's our values, right? Like those core things that matter to us, say like integrity or compassion, that kind of stuff. So looking at what are the things that matter most to us, like in life in general, and then what are our core values that are attached to those, and then we can assess these relationships we're in, where we're in this kind of dysfunctional space, and see, do they match this? Because often, in my 30-day breakthrough program, it's funny because Eileen and Alistair are here, who both went through that. We look at these things, right? What matters most? What are our values? Because, and then we can find where the mismatches are in our life to then decide what needs to go and where we need to change, and set better boundaries or healthier boundaries within those areas of our life. Okay, and so when you do that, then you can assess those things and make a decision, right? When we have options, knowing that we have options, we can make a better choice. And then be open to receiving, because if you're the self-sacrificer, you're the chronic giver, and you're not receiving very well because it's a pattern. And it's not that you don't want anyone to give to you or you don't want to be a receiver. It's just your nervous system is conditioned to going in the other direction. So we've got to get it going back the same way. I was never, I mean, I say never, like it took me until my early adulthood to be a good receiver. And wherever all of that came from, that's it for another day. But being able to be a good receiver is part of this healing process of getting out of this dysfunction of self-sacrifice. And so that's another one. And then did we say setting boundaries on expectations? That was kind of like the pause, right? So being clear on your boundaries on expectations. I guess that's what I want to say. So what is your minimum standard that you're going to accept in someone else's behavior and how they project stuff onto you, how they what their expectations are of you, of what they're, of course, have a standard of you jumping, or you always being the yes person, you always saying, I'll do it, give it to me, whatever those things are, you're now creating a new standard of boundaries of what you're going to accept. And then I think so. I already said that. Looking, I think I did that first. Like, what is the need that is not being met, that is causing you to self-sacrifice? So those are so those are all the things, and why is, I hope you can see now, like why this would be a barrier to success both in business and a barrier to your own happiness. So you have to be able to give and receive. right? Eileen, I'm just reading your comment. These are all the things that I learned from you. Life changers. Oh, melt my heart. So happy. I'm so proud of you. Um, so yeah, I'm going to see you in 2 weeks actually doing your workshop for Adopt a Single Mom Project. I cannot wait. So anyway, so that is it on self-sacrifice. If you need support in that area or you have a question and you want to post it below or you can DM me, any of those things, would love to hear about it. Alistair, I've learned to receive compliments. Words of affirmation was previously 0. Yes, that is awesome. So proud of you. Great job, guys. So, all right. So, good night. See you tomorrow.